Caught my fiancé cheating with my sister the night before our wedding. Cancelled everything, disappeared, and let the truth implode on its own. Turns out he was cheating with others too. I walked away and I'm finally free. I'm 29 years old, got married last Saturday. Or at least I was supposed to. I'm still not sure whether I want to delete this post or let it serve as a cautionary tale. But right now, writing it out is the only thing keeping me sane. My hands are literally shaking as I type this. Let me start with a bit of background so you understand how deep this betrayal runs. My ex-fiancé Jake, 31M, and I had been together for 5 years. We met at a mutual friend's barbecue. Hit it off over our shared hatred of cilantro. Yes, it tastes like soap, and we became inseparable. He was charming, thoughtful, and honestly, everything I thought I ever wanted. He always made me feel like I was the only person in the room. For years he treated me like gold. Or so I thought. Then there's my sister Caroline, 26F. Gorgeous, extroverted, the life of every party. Growing up, she was always the golden child. The one everyone paid attention to. I was the quiet one. The smart one. I never really minded. Caroline had a way of stealing the spotlight without even trying. But I always chalked it up to her personality. We were close in that complicated sisterly way where you love each other deeply. But there's always a lingering undercurrent of competition. Jake and Caroline got along well from the beginning. Too well maybe. But I never felt threatened. I trusted Jake implicitly. And Caroline was my sister. Family. There were times I'd see them laugh together a little too much at family dinners or catch a look between them that felt off. But I always told myself I was just being paranoid. I was stressed. I was tired. I was overthinking. Right. Fast forward to the night before the wedding. We had the rehearsal dinner at this beautiful little winery outside of town. The whole bridal party was there. Everyone was drinking, laughing, toasting. Jake gave this incredibly sweet speech about how lucky he was to marry his best friend. Cried. My mom cried. Even my emotionally stunted dad got misty-eyed. After dinner, the bridesmaids and I were supposed to stay at a nearby rental house while Jake and his groomsmen stayed at the venue's guest cottages. Tradition, you know. But somewhere around 11 p.m., I realized I left my emergency makeup bag, with my special hypoallergenic stuff, in the bridal suite. The venue was technically closed, but my maid of honor, Jess, had the access code because she'd been coordinating with the planner. So Jess drove me back to grab the bag. The whole place was supposed to be empty except for Jake and his groomsmen, who were in a different cottage. We walked in quietly, using the flashlight on my phone because we didn't want to freak anyone out. I wish I hadn't gone back. I wish I could unsee it. But I opened the door to the bridal suite and there they were, Jake and Caroline, in my bed, half naked, tangled up in the sheets. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Just froze. Jess gasped, dropped the flashlight, and it rolled under the dresser, leaving us in this weird dim half-light while my sister scrambled to cover herself and Jake just sat up, stunned. I remember Caroline trying to say something like, "It's not what it looks like," and Jake blurting out, "We were drunk." Like that somehow made it okay. I didn't say a word. I turned around and walked out. Jess ran after me, crying and apologizing like she had done something wrong. I think she was in just as much shock as I was. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the bathtub of the rental house with the water running so no one could hear me sobbing. The wedding was supposed to be at 2 p.m. the next day. There were over 150 guests flying in from all over the country. My dress was steamed and hanging up. The cake was delivered. The string quartet had already set up. And I had no idea what the hell to do. By sunrise, I was emotionally numb. Not angry. Not even sad. Just hollow. I hadn't slept a single minute. I just sat there in that damn bathtub, my dress hanging on the door, mocking me. Jess stayed with me, thank God. She's the kind of friend you only get once in a lifetime. The kind who doesn't ask you what you're going to do. Just hands you tea and wipes your face when you break down. Around 6 a.m. she finally asked, "Do you want to go through with it? Or do you want to run?" I didn't answer at first. My brain was playing a constant loop of what I saw. Jake's arm around Caroline's waist. Her laughing, then freezing when she saw me. The fact that my sister had been in my bed with the man I was supposed to marry in less than 24 hours. I told Jess, "I want to disappear." She nodded. And somehow, like she'd been preparing for this moment her whole life, she had a plan. We packed up our stuff, left a quick note for the other bridesmaids, and drove 2 hours out to a beach town we used to visit in college. No phones. No updates. Jess texted my mom from a burner phone saying there was a situation and I was safe, but I needed space. Then she turned it off and threw it in the glove compartment. I didn't tell anyone what I saw. Not yet. 'Cause I wanted to watch it all burn first. Meanwhile, I found this out later. Chaos was erupting back at the venue. When I didn't show up for hair and makeup at 9 a.m., my mom assumed I was just nervous. She tried calling. Nothing. By 11, the planner was panicking, the bridal party was confused, and Jake, well, apparently he was acting like a concerned fiancé the whole time. Asking people if I was okay. Checking with my mom. Pretending to be devastated. The best part. Caroline was playing innocent too. Ting worried. Telling people she hadn't seen me since dinner. Since dinner. The audacity. Around noon, Jess called my mom again from the burner and gave her the slightest hint. She told her. There was a betrayal. It's personal. She's safe, but she's not walking down that aisle. That's when everything exploded. My mom, God bless her, put 2 and 2 together fast. Apparently, she'd always had a gut feeling that Caroline was a little too close to Jake. She never had proof, never wanted to stir the pot, but after that call, she cornered Jake and Caroline and demanded to know if anything had happened between them. Jake denied it at first. But Caroline cracked. She confessed. She told my mother that it only happened once, and that they'd both been drinking and it just got out of hand. My mother slapped her. Yes, slap. In the middle of the venue courtyard, in front of guests who were arriving early for photos. Caroline started crying. Jake apparently tried to calm her down, saying he was confused and didn't want to hurt anyone. I wasn't there for any of this, but Jess's cousin was. She sent us play-by-play updates from her phone. I still have the messages. By 1:30 p.m. the officiant was gone. The florist had packed up. The quartet was playing soft music to try and cover the rising tension, but guests were openly asking, "Is the bride coming?" Spoiler, I wasn't. At 2:15, my dad stood up in front of everyone and said, "There will be no wedding today." No explanation. Just those words. The room went silent. People were whispering, wondering if I'd been in an accident or gotten cold feet. Caroline tried to leave early. But some of my bridesmaids, who Jess had quietly told everything to, blocked her path and made sure everyone saw her walk out with Jake behind her, both red-faced and humiliated. But here's the kicker. The real twist hadn't even happened yet. Because after 24 hours off-grid, I turned my phone back on and was greeted with something I never expected to see. When I turned my phone back on the next day, I had 47 missed calls, over 100 text messages, and a few dozen DMs from people I hadn't spoken to in years. I was expecting chaos. But what I wasn't expecting was the video. It was sent to me by one of Jake's groomsmen, Eli, someone I barely knew beyond surface-level interactions. He wrote, "Hey, I know this is probably not my place, but I thought you deserved to see this." It was taken the night of the rehearsal dinner. Attached was a 58-second video, clearly shot on a phone. It started with the guys hanging out in one of the cottages. They were drinking, joking, tossing around a football like a bunch of frat boys. Then, in the background you hear someone say, "Where's Jake?" Another voice, maybe Eli's, answers, "Think he went to the bridal suite. Caroline followed him in like 5 minutes ago." That's when someone laughs and says, "Dude, if they're not sleeping together, I'm the Pope." A couple of them laugh. One says, "Sure, don't say that," like he knows it's wrong but isn't surprised. The video ends with them all passing around drinks again. I sat there on the hotel bed with Jess next to me and I think I stopped breathing. It wasn't just a one-time drunken mistake. This wasn't an accident. This had been talked about, gossiped about. No. I was humiliated but also weirdly relieved. I wasn't crazy. My gut feelings hadn't been paranoia. My instincts had been screaming at me for months, and I'd ignored them. Now I had proof. Proof that not only had Jake and Caroline betrayed me, but others knew. Maybe not all the details, maybe not every time, but enough to joke about it. Enough to film it. I sent the video to my parents. My dad responded almost immediately with, "I'm proud of you. Don't ever come home with your head down." My mom sent a string of messages I won't share here, but they were basically fire and brimstone aimed at both Caroline and Jake. She said she'd already told Caroline she was no longer welcome in our family unless she got serious help. That evening, Jess helped me post a short statement on Instagram. I hadn't planned to say anything at all, but the amount of speculation online was starting to spiral, and the last thing I wanted was for Jake or Caroline to control the narrative. So I wrote, "To everyone who showed up for our wedding, thank you. Unfortunately, the celebration didn't go forward as planned. Some truths came to light the night before, and out of self-respect, I chose not to marry someone who betrayed me. I won't be answering questions or naming names, but know that I am safe, supported, and moving forward stronger than before." It got over 3,000 likes and a flood of supportive comments. People knew. Even without names, they knew. Jake didn't post anything. Neither did Caroline. But I started getting screenshots from mutual friends showing Jake had deactivated all his social media accounts. Caroline, on the other hand, had the audacity to make a private post on her spam account that read, "Funny how people act like saints when they're no better than anyone else." Cue the collective eye roll. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The truth was out. But then, a week later, I got a knock on my apartment door. It was Jake. And he was crying. Jake looked like hell. His once perfectly styled hair was a mess. He hadn't shaved, and his eyes were bloodshot like he hadn't slept in days. He stood there on my doorstep holding a bouquet of wilted flowers from some corner gas station and a pathetic look on his face. I didn't say a word. I just stood there staring at him. "Can I come in?" he asked, voice trembling. Jess, saint that she is, was already walking toward the door from the kitchen, but I shook my head at her. I needed to handle this myself. So I stepped outside, closed the door behind me, and crossed my arms. Jake sighed. "Look, I don't even know where to begin. I screwed up. I know that. I know I hurt you." I let the silence hang for a second before I said, "You didn't just hurt me. You destroyed us. And you did it with my sister." His eyes filled with tears. I swear he was trying to look like a broken man. Maybe he even was. But I wasn't buying it. "I didn't plan for it to happen," he said. "It wasn't ongoing. It was that night. We were drunk. It was stupid. I felt sick the second it happened." I took a deep breath, pulling out my phone. "Then maybe you can explain this." I hit play on Eli's video and watched as Jake's face went pale. His jaw clenched. "Where did you get that?" "Not the point. Explain it." He swallowed hard. "Okay, babe. It wasn't just that night. Happened twice before. But it didn't mean anything. God, I was confused. Caroline came on to me and..." I held up my hand. "Don't you dare try to spin this like she seduced you. You're not a child, Jake. You were going to marry me. You stood in front of my friends and family and gave a speech about how lucky you were. Then you screwed my sister in my wedding bed." His mouth opened, then closed. "I trusted you," I said, my voice low. "I defended you when people joked about how close you were with Caroline. I told myself I was being insecure. I chose you over my own gut." "I know," he whispered. "And you broke me." He looked down at the flowers in his hand. "I thought maybe, I don't know, that you might still want to talk. Maybe we could fix it." "Fix it?" I laughed, but it wasn't even bitter. It was empty. "You cheated on me. You lied to me. You made a mockery of our relationship. There's no fixing that." He stood there speechless. For the first time in the 5 years I'd known him, he had nothing to say. Then I asked something I'd been holding on to for days. Was she the only one? He blinked. What? Was Caroline the only one you cheated on me with? He didn't answer. Didn't need to. I took a step back. Leave. And don't come here again. He opened his mouth like he wanted to argue or cry or beg. But I shut the door in his face before he could do any of it. Later that night I got a text from Caroline. It read, I know you hate me. Hate me too. I just want you to know it wasn't just sex. I think I actually loved him. I stared at that message for a long time. No apology. No remorse. Just a confession of the most twisted kind. I didn't respond. I blocked her number. Blocked Jake's too. And then I booked a solo trip to Greece. Because if there's one thing I've learned from this mess, it's that healing doesn't happen where you were broken. Greece was everything I didn't know I needed. I spent 2 weeks on a tiny island where no one knew me as the girl who got cheated on. I wandered through whitewashed villages, swam in the sea until my fingers pruned, and let the sun burn away the pieces of me that still clung to grief. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt free. Jess checked in often, sending me updates and memes to keep my spirits up. She told me Caroline had gone radio silent. Apparently, my parents told her she wasn't welcome at family events until she apologized, truly apologized, and started therapy. From what we could tell, she hadn't done either. Jake. No idea what happened to him. Last I heard, he moved out of state. His business lost a few clients. Word travels fast when your wedding scandal turns into a cautionary tale. But I wasn't spending my time watching their lives fall apart anymore. That wasn't healing. That was obsession. And I was done bleeding for people who never deserved my loyalty. It wasn't until I returned home that the final piece of the story fell into place. My cousin Rachel, who had stayed unusually quiet through all this, invited me to lunch. We hadn't talked much since the wedding, that wasn't, so I figured it was a peace offering. But halfway through our salads, she got this nervous look on her face and said, I need to tell you something. My stomach clenched. Okay. Jake hit on me, she said. 6 months ago. My birthday party. I didn't want to cause drama, and I thought maybe he was just drunk. But now that everything's out, I can't stay silent. He showed me the text. He'd messaged her later that night, calling her beautiful, asking if she'd ever had what-if thoughts about them. She never responded. She blocked him. But she kept the proof. Felt sick. It wasn't just Caroline. Never was. Jake was a serial cheater. Charming on the surface, rotten at the core. And the saddest part. I would have married him. I would have built a life with him. Had kids. Built a future on a foundation made of lies. But I didn't. Because fate, or karma, or timing, or just sheer dumb luck, threw me into the fire before I said, I do. And I walked out of the flames whole. 3 months later, I threw a party on what would have been our 3-month anniversary. I invited all my friends, wore the wedding dress I never got to walk down the aisle in, and gave a speech with a glass of champagne in hand. Here's to heartbreak, I said. Because it's not the end of the story. It's just the beginning of the one I write for myself. Everyone cheered. Even my dad, who once thought crying was weakness, teared up. Caroline wasn't there. Jake obviously wasn't either. And I didn't miss them. Not even a little.